Hello, so in this video I'm going to be doing some tidying up in the engine bay on the MX5 NB. So I'm going to remove as much as I can so I can degrease the engine bay, and I'll paint any brackets that need painting, and also going to be moving stuff around, adding some bits, yeah, just to make it a bit more presentable. So starting off with the driver's side, so we've got the charcoal canister, or evap system, coolant overflow, some sensors regarding the charcoal canister, fuse box, brake reservoir, servo. But apart from that, apart from this fuel line bits, fair bit of room, so a little bit of rust down here that I want to treat. So yeah, let's make a start with this charcoal canister. So there's these two hoses that connect to this solenoid that needs to be unplugged. So then one hose goes to the top, the other hose goes to the inlet manifold. And then the middle one goes to atmosphere. This has been removed at some point, but it should go out the inner wing. And then you got this one on the right hand side, which looks like it goes return to the tank. So I've got some blanks, just grab them, some assorted blanks. So I'll use those to blank return to the tank and the inlet manifold. I've got some cable ties as well. And yeah, obviously fuel lines are going to have to stay there. So yeah, let's make a start. So now moved what I can on this side. So I've unbolted the fuse box, but there's a long stud in the back here, which is starting to round, so it's quite seized. So I'm going to see if I can work around it. Quite a bit of corrosion has to be expected around the bolt holes. Most of this, well, this bit is tied away. Fuel lines are loose, so it's time to start degreasing. So for the degrease, I'm going to be using the Gunk Ultra. So this is very similar to the normal degreaser, apart from you don't need to pressure wash it off, you can just use a damp cloth. So I have a spray bottle with water, a microfiber cloth. So I'll now brush this on, let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then wipe it off. So just after one pass, it has come up a lot better. So unfortunately, This corrosion's quite bad here and here. I could paint. I don't know how. With rust, as some may know, until you start digging, it could get a lot worse. So unsure what to do. I am limited of time at the minute, so it may just be a clean up for now, and then come back when I've got more time and better weather to repaint it. But yeah, definitely a bit better than what it was. So this is the finished result for now for this side. So I've removed the bracket that held the two sensors on. I've made a bracket to hold the map sensor using the mounting point for the fuse box. So that, the nuts in the fuse box, the fuel line bracket's been painted black, stainless hardware on the extension tank. I've cleaned that up as well. So there's a grommet down here. You can see the paint's darker. So the darker paint is the exterior body, and obviously the engine bay is lighter. So when it comes to sorting this out, if I was to use that paint, it's going to look different. So don't know what to do about that. So cable tied the wiring up, moved the aircon connector from here and cable tied it to the loom here, just so it tidies it up a bit. So yeah, it's obviously not completely clean like some people's, but it's a start. So yeah, very happy with how that's coming together. So next is to sort the passenger side out. So looking at the power steering reservoir, this one at the front is going to be interesting to get off. I think the others are loosened already, because I did loosen some when I was doing the cam belt. So yeah, most of this, until I decide what I'm doing with the car, obviously all this will have to stay. Washer bottle, so you can see that's loose. Washer bottle I've got an idea for, and I'm going to be relocating this to the boot of the car, and I'll show you what I got. So this is a universal washer bottle kit. So you've got the pump attached to the side, some hose, mounting bracket, and then inside this bag you've got washer jets, a switch, the connector, mounting screws and hardware, T-piece for the washer hose, and I think there's some tidying up brackets there at the top as well. So the plan is to utilise this pocket tray in the boot. So this should sit nicely in there. So if I pop that back, obviously that's not the final fit. So I look something like that. So with the bracket, if I can move that screw, so the bottle can slide onto this bracket. The bracket will be bolted to this tray. So with that on, luckily where the two mounting screws are, it should be just at the very top where my thumb is of the tray. So yeah, can't really mount it any lower, purely because, well, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but could do it that way, I could do it that way. So but then you'll see the pump. So yeah, I think seeing the bracket that way is probably going to be neater. And then I'll run an extension for the pump wiring and the washer tubing down through there, past the fuel tank, behind the passenger seat, down the kick plate of the car, sill cover plate, and into the engine bay. So that'll be a job for another day. Needed to get the car back together for work, so yeah, I'll carry on with this shortly. Right, so the bracket is now pushed onto the bottle, and I put a bit of masking tape on, so when I lay it in here, I can then draw a line along the top, and then I know roughly where the bracket needs to be drilled. So let's put this there. Onto the level, or as level as we can get it. It's going to be very close to the top here, that hole, so I may need to drill another hole further down, possibly. Yeah, let's that line there. That is going to be quite close. Might be alright, to be fair. Yeah, let's go ahead and drill that and see what it looks like. So that's the holes now drilled. I used some stainless nuts and bolts, so then this should, in theory, push down. There we go. So yeah, you see a bit of a bracket, but I think that's better than seeing the pump and wiring. So now we just need to make an adapter loom. I'll double check what the plug is like on the car, and I bought some extra washer tubing because I know that the stuff supplied obviously isn't going to be long enough, because these are designed to be in the engine bay. So yeah, let's double check to see what the connection is and make an adapter loom. So the original washer pump uses the same configuration, and the washer tubing goes from the bottom of the pump round to the bonnet. So the plan is I can either use this existing piece that goes to the bottle and feed it through and have the join there, or probably best to have the join in the engine bay just in case there is a leak, and then I'm not going to drench the interior with washer fluid. So I'm guessing blue with a yellow trace is going to be power, black is going to be the earth. So that's fine. I don't think they're a certain polarity on these pumps. I think they may work either way. I could be wrong. But yeah, need to make an adapter loom to go from here down to the down the side of the car. So I've now fed the washer tubing and a single core wire. I've decided I'm not going to run twin core to the plug. I'm going to earth the new washer pump towards the boot. Just saves running two wires down the car and trying to fit two wires and the washer tubing through this very small, snug grommet. So the plan is to now, rather than using the whole washer tubing to the pump, there's actually a join just here. So I'm going to use the join, hopefully tuck up behind the washer motor, and then join it from there. Obviously pull the excess through into the engine bay, grommet back into the bulkhead, and then all I need to do is just feed enough wire to connect to the plug, reroute that, probably hide up underneath the ABS pump and module, and but before I can disconnect this, I need to drain this. So I'll grab a container to do that, and yeah, that then should be probably the hardest bit finished, and then move on to the next step. So excuse the mess. So the wiring, or the wire and the tubing, comes through from the behind the heater box. I've cable tied it to the original loom. And then on this particular Mark 2.5 or NB facelift NB2, I don't know if it's, I'm guessing it's factory, but there's a plastic tube that runs alongside. So this is hollow, so that's the perfect size to run that washer tubing through. And I'm going to see if I can get the wire through there as well. So it comes from behind here. So then what I've done is, the piece of wire that I used to feed through the bulkhead originally, I've poked that through the gap because I know that there's a gap around about here. I've removed the carpet, the metal plate behind the filler neck. You can see it's there. So I'll tape the washer tubing to this, pull the wire through, and that'll feed it lovely. I'll probably might follow these release cables instead, probably be a more neater direct route, and then that'll be there ready for the bottle. So with these now fed through and underneath, I've cable tied them together further back just to keep them nice and tidy. I've cleaned up the surface where the electric aerial mounts, and I've used that as the earth point. So that's now ready to go. So the tray, I've drilled inside a 10mm hole, and then a 10mm hole, and a 10mm hole on the end for the washer tubing, and then on the side for the wiring. So the wiring's now been covered in tester tape, insulated female crimp terminals now on. So earlier I said about it may not make a difference about the polarity, but it does. So this is actually labelled. So this bottom one here is the negative. I don't know if the action camera will focus, probably not. So this one's negative, and then this one is the positive. That's the tank now connected. I have filled up with some water just for the time being. I'll show you the reason why. So the original stuff that was in there, I don't know if you can see it, that black sludge, yeah, that was in the inside of the bottle. You can see it through the plastic. So yeah, didn't really want to reuse it. So for the time being, I'll just stick some water in there just to test it, and then I'll top it up with some fresh screen wash. Right, so fingers crossed this works. Lovely jubbly. It's quite powerful as well, considering I didn't know there was going to be a voltage drop or anything, but that seems to work good. So now that's relocated and working, it's time to now remove all the other brackets and whatnot. So looks like there's one bolt holding this bracket on. And there may be another one. Yep, there's another one underneath the airbox. So once that's removed, I can do that. What else can be removed? ABS pump, I don't want to touch. There's a bracket here holding this aircon pipe on. I'll take that off and clean that up, paint that. Could replace the bolts on this earth strap and the brake line, maybe. Horn, wiper motor I'll probably leave. Obviously all this can be cleaned up. Diagnostic port bracket can be taken off and painted. All this can be changed for stainless. that cleaned up. The airbox plastic can be cleaned up. And then it's just tackling that power steering reservoir. Yeah, it don't look good. I've ordered some replacement brackets, radiator brackets. So it'd be cheaper. I think they were like £3.50, something like that. So not a huge amount of money. So just thought it'd be easier to buy replacements rather than spend time prepping and painting that. So I do want to get a cover at some point. You can get one that just covers the top of the bumper, or you can get one that covers this piece as well. So yeah, that's an option later on. This bracket here can be removed and painted. I don't think there's much else, to be fair. Yeah, just a good clean-up. With the wiring, I mean, that is quite tight over there. I don't think I can do much. I don't know if I can get it up high enough. But yeah, we'll start removing some bits and pieces and see how we go. So I've now removed the intake pipe, the airbox, the bracket for the washer bottle, the diagnostic port bracket. So yeah, moving around to the front, this one is still quite seized in the power steering reservoir, and yeah, nice little hole has appeared. You see where the water's trapped underneath this loom, and it's obviously, you see I've sort of started to scrape away at it. So yeah, that's not ideal. I may leave that for the time, well, I will leave that for the time being, because I know that the chassis leg will need to be replaced both sides, because they're looking a bit crusty. So I'll get that welded at the same time. Yeah, only issue is obviously the paint match is going to be tricky. I know the other side is corroded as well, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that. The engine bay colour is a lot lighter, so but let's get this swept up and degreased, and then we can go from there. So that's the side now degreased. I've also removed the heat shield off the exhaust manifold. The original plan was to clean it up and paint it, but this one just here didn't want to budge, so I had to rip it off. So yeah, I'll probably end up getting a polished Jazz Performance one instead, and only mount it top and on the side here. The bottom one had already broken off, so yeah, not ideal. So it's cleaned up okay. Obviously, like the other side, there's corrosion. Couldn't get this bottom power steering reservoir bolt out. As you can see, I've ended up bending the metal down because I was trying to hit a smaller socket on the top, but that wasn't doing anything. The corrosion I know about, so I'll have to worry about that later. And then another issue I've found is these two aircon relays. This one has a wire that decided it didn't want to be attached anymore. So there is signs of water ingress, corrosion, which is not ideal. So I've got a few brackets that need to be painted. Mainly the diagnostic port one and the airbox. I mean, this can be just cable tied up for the time being, but I need to get this airbox one done first. There's a couple other brackets around here, like for the aircon, that need to be done, although that ain't going to go anywhere for the time being. So yeah, paint them up, and then this side is done, well, up until I can get this removed and this sorted out. So that's this side now put back together. So I used stainless hardware where I could. For these longer airbox bolts, I just reused the existing hardware and just cleaned it up. So I did end up painting the horn bracket, aircon mounting bracket, and the bracket that holds the airbox together. I think I will get a Jazz Performance cover just to tidy that up. But yeah, I mean, luckily that hides the rust down there, but I know it's there now. So yeah, last job is to change these once it's arrived. I'll probably change the headlight hardware and these while I'm there, or I need to paint this as well. But yeah, so far it's looking much cleaner. One last thing, so on the Mark 2.5 or the facelift, when I removed the evap canister, the engine management light was on, so I refitted the sensor, looped the pipe and cleared the code, and luckily the EML has stayed off.